Hey,
Go away.
what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Hop Geek News, a creator specific interview today, which we love to do. We're going to be talking to Kevin Zoldan today to talk about the first of his 5-issue series, Kitty's Bordello, based on a true story out of World War II, with issue 2 dropping this June. So, by all means, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, share if you want more of this to help the podcast grow. We love doing creator specific interviews. It gives us a really great in-depth chance to just talk about some really fun comics or movies or whatever it is. And Hops Geek News on any podcasting platform if you weren't sure how you got here, any social media platform. And then, as always, we got to tell you, everybody, we'd like to do a little Patreon event. So coming up on June 29th, we are going to be watching the very first Fantastic Four on our Patreon, which you can support for as low as $1. So by all means, check that out with fun facts. Links always in the bio. But I have a beer, and I'm drinking from Common Bond Brewers. They were previous guests, really great people. I'm drinking the Zelda Blonde. I chose this because we are talking about a German brothel in Berlin during World War II. If you've been around, we've been around 4 years now. I'm never short on history fun facts. I love my history. So when we got this comic rolling through our inbox, man, I was in from the jump. So before we get to our guest, Lauren, I'm going to throw it to you. What you got over there?
So I actually was saving this one for the boys because the kangaroo kind of looks like he's wearing a shirt that Billy Butcher would wear, but then I just grabbed it real quick. Shout out to Micah. This one is from Three Notch Brewing, but because we are in Germany in this book, I got it in my little can stein. So
I didn't get to take you there, but there you go. Can stein. I was like, wow, that's a fancy can. I don't understand how you got that, but I forgot you had that. And as always,
great for tailgating. And the purpose of the sign is to keep the buggies out of your drink. So, I mean, it works.
That's actually really clever. I think I almost bought that once. I do remember you pointing it out to me now. But we do have a guest, man. We do. And I want to introduce now Kevin, who is here to chat about his comics. So first things first, man, we always love introduce yourself. Tell us, I know you got a couple beers there. So what are you drinking? And then give us your geek origin story, because every great superhero, every great comic, every great person always has an origin story.
Hell yeah. I don't know if I'm going to be able to top y'all's beers, man. Those are great. Those are awesome, man. So I'm a bartender out in Hawaii, so I have to go local. I'm getting Kona. I really like the Bikini Blonde too from Maui Brewing, but they didn't have a top
both those
or anything.
locations. Yeah.
Yeah. Maui Brewing's amazing, but so is Kona. I haven't tried this one yet. This one is Kona Light. It's a blonde ale. Yeah, so in case this one isn't good, I got backup. I got
Big Wave. Yeah.
Everybody knows Big Wave.
We get that in the States, but I've actually been to Maui Brewing Company. I was, in Honolulu, of course, and I've been to Kona as well, their locations there. But I got to ask real quick, man, we've never actually had the chance to talk to somebody actively living in Hawaii. How did that end up?
Man, it's a crazy story, actually. So I was working at a hospital during the pandemic, and I had like a really, really rough day. And I come home after a tough day of work. My lady was like, how do you feel about moving to a remote island in Hawaii? I was like, okay, yeah, that sounds awesome. Sign me up. So 6 months later, we're out here, and it's a really, really small island. I don't want to give away the name of it. It's only 3,000 people.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Them to be able to keep their privacy and everything, but so grateful to be here. And my job doesn't even exist, my hospital job. So I knew I had to do something else. So now I'm grateful enough to be bartending and having a great time, man. It's awesome.
Writing comics.
Yeah.
And being able to write is such a peaceful place, and getting a lot of great work done out here. It's awesome.
Man, that is
you gotta love
living.
And a silver lining of the pandemic. I love hearing like Mr. Rogers always said, look for the helpers, look for the good things that come out of the bad things. So that's really cool. This podcast is something that came out of COVID. So you gotta, look for the good things.
And now we're going on a European family vacation together, which is insane.
So you never know how it will end up. Tell us your geek origin story. So now we know your Hawaii origin story. So how did you end up in the world of writing comics?
So let me pop it real quick.
Oh yeah.
So I did my first one. It's called Unbroken. I did that one in 2019, and it ended up being a one shot during COVID. Me and the artist lost contact. I don't know what's up with him. I hope he's okay. First off, and his name's Bax. I got to give my love out to him. Absolutely love him to death. and hope everything's okay with him, because just kind of lost contact, and
Oh, wow.
it's a bummer. It was supposed to be a trilogy, but it works as a one shot, and that's what it is. But basically instantly in 2019, before the pandemic, I found this story, Kitty's Bordello, and I found it on Wikipedia and just kind of did like a internet deep dive on it. And it's based on a true story, and it's the Nazis. They took over Germany, and right before World War II, they took over a brothel, and they put microphones in the walls, and they spied on their own people. And the stuff that they found out is insane. And just the fact that it hasn't been made really, I mean, it's been made into a movie, kinda, but not really. It's a exploitation film, absolutely horrible in my
Mhm.
opinion. And I couldn't really find anything substantial that it's been made into as far as media. I did a lot of research on it, and couldn't be more proud of it, and did a historical twist at the end, and
Ooh.
really looking forward for the full story to come out. But getting our feet wet right now with issue one, and cheers.
Hell
Couldn't be
yeah,
more
dude.
grateful
A
to be done.
little Quentin Tarantino twist on the end, because I love that. Like, if you've seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he has his twist at the end, which I absolutely loved. It's so cathartic. And
Yeah.
man, that's really cool how we just stumble upon these. And that's what I was thinking too, is when I was reading over this story, I was like, wow, how has something like this not been made into a movie? I feel like this would have been right for the take, such a great story. And just so, are you big into like history? Is that kind of how you've stumbled upon this, or is this purely accident?
No, I like history. I'm a pretty big fan of history. Um, and I don't know, I just like learning in general, like about really anything. So I was just reading and came across that story, and it just like it boom, it just hit me, and it pretty much wrote itself. Even the twist part, it like the characters just spoke, and I was lucky enough to be the stenographer and just write everything down, man. So yeah, yeah, very very grateful that this like bloomed into what it's been. Um, and now I'm working with lesser known comics. Phenomenal group of people, man. I couldn't be happier to be working with them. And they print through Comics Wellspring, and such a phenomenal company. The quality that they put out, having this in print is a dream come true, man. I just love it. It's like baseball, smelling your glove, like just
Yeah.
Mhm.
smelling the aromas of something like nostalgic that you love, like having your book printed. There's nothing else like it in this world.
We've heard that before, and then seeing your name on that book
Yeah.
is a bit surreal, yeah. Well, this story, I love that though, because yes, people are going to be more vulnerable with somebody they don't think would take seriously. They're going to spill their secrets to a lady of the night because they just assume everything's safe there because they have to keep secrets. So that's kind of very interesting and very genius at the same time, sadly. But the art is helps set the tone so perfectly. That art is just so dark and so detailed and so gorgeous. And there were
Yeah.
some parts that looked so realistic, like the money and the newspaper, the amount of detail. So, what was the back and forth with the artist, and how did that go?
Oh man, dude. So Abel Garcia is his name. Couldn't be more grateful for Abel, man. The dude is phenomenal. He is from Barcelona, Spain. Me and him don't even speak the same language. So everything that we do is we tried having like a Skype conversation where the live translations, it didn't work out too well. But yeah, we got to try new technology. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
yeah, man. I sent him the full scripts, and he was like, "Dude, I really, really enjoy this. It's great." And he did a 3 character test. I just wanted to see if he could get historical figures looking like the historical figures, and he killed it, man. He absolutely murdered it. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I couldn't be more grateful to have him, and just the quality of his work is what this story needs. It needs something
Mhm.
like that. So, man, immensely grateful to Abel.
Yeah.
I, I
Yeah,
definitely
for
agree. Oh, go ahead, Lauren.
no, you're good.
I was just gonna say, like, as far as the artwork, like it's the down to like the uniforms, the newspaper, and then there's even a scene where she's kind of getting hit in captivity, and like one thing I really liked is how it was kind of that retro black and white style of you didn't show the blood. It was like very much you saw the black splatter everywhere, and your brain automatically connected what it was, but it was one of those things that's like it's left more to the imagination, which I think really works. And down to like a lot of the language, I mean, the language on the newspapers, did you have to research any of the language when you're like writing this to kind of translate a little bit of it, or how'd that work out?
Oh, fully, man. So the German characters, I tried to write it in English, then translate it in German, and then translate it back to English. So it'd be what German said. So the phrasing might be a little off, but I think it's kind of spot on. So dialogue is important to me. It's the hardest hurdle to do. And
Yeah.
in the second book starts another character, a spy, and he has to use three different accents. So it was so hard writing that part, but it was very enjoyable writing that part as well. But yeah. Did a ton of research, did a bunch of reference photos and stuff like that, and the dude nailed it. Like the tone. I like that you mentioned that colors change, because when it becomes part of the environment and it's not touching a human and have that energy, we wanted to make it part of the environment because it no
Yeah.
longer belongs. Because there's a girl putting on lipstick and it's red, but when
Yep.
she puts the lipstick down, it turns black and white. So, man, that's really good detail
It
that you noticed. Appreciate
It
that.
makes me think of, was it Sin City? You know, how that was kinda shot, and they had, like, the very vibrant colors, but, like, most of the time, it's the black and white. That's kinda what it made me think of, and I was like, "Wow, this really adds to the aesthetic," and I really, honestly, between that and how much love and attention and detail that you put into, like, I mean, you went from English to German back to, English, and I like the vernacular, being able to, because when we translate things from, yeah, of course, the translation is never gonna be perfect. Things are gonna come off
Mhm.
because they have different word usage. So I think even that pulls you in deeper to this historical piece. That just, for me, like, I'm nerding out the whole time I'm looking at that. There's so much to love, so much to write. Laura, I know you had something to add on earlier, so by all means, like, I could gush, but what did you have?
Well, I was just going more into the art because I feel like for a project like this, like that, like I said before, the art is just so important. So, did you see his other works beforehand, and did you handpick and be like, okay, this is what I need?
For sure. Yeah, I reached out to Abel. I found his profile on Instagram, and he just did quality stuff. And reached out to him and wanted to make it realistic, but still a comic book. Wanted
Yeah.
to keep that entity of it. So we talked about it, and we wanted the two tone, that Frank Miller inspired.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that aesthetic, that tone. Just bring you into this country that authoritarianism like took over and is manipulating, and I wanted to make it dark and as like that as possible. So I
Hmm.
figured that would be a good way to set the tone and mood for it.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, it's Nazi Germany, so, like, it's not gonna be all bright and beautiful. It kinda and it's also, at the same time, it's kind of a spy thriller, historical
Yeah.
piece. So, I mean, spy thrillers, you kinda set that dark, mysterious, rainy night kinda tone, and as we're seeing, we have our journalist, that kind of comes into play. He's kinda noticing, looking for that
Yeah.
story, and we have a couple other characters that come into play too. So, was down to even the journalist and the spies, that was all historically accurate as well then?
No, so Stedman was the last character I added myself.
Ooh.
Because I wrote the story, I wrote all 5 books, and they're 24 pages each. And I was just like, this story needs something. It needs a narrator because so
Yeah.
much is going on, and it needs that American point of view because it's set in Europe and everything like that. So I added Stedman not only for that aspect, but he's the only one that gives slight comic relief to a very dark, depressing story. So I don't want to say it's entertaining still, even though it's set in a mood. It's not gonna put you in a funk the rest of the day. But
No,
uh,
no.
but it's yeah, it's an entertaining story. But yeah, Stedman, his character bloomed the most out of this story. So having him there to be able to do is great.
Yeah, no, that's a clever way to have a narrator for a story like that. That was actually going to be my next question. So, what other elements are not factually accurate? Did you have to do that in a lot of them, or is it mainly just that the detective?
Yeah, it's mostly just him, Stedman. Everything else is factually accurate all the way up until book 5. So he's the
Nice.
only one that's fiction. Everything else is it happened. up until book 5, and book 5 is
it's where
the major
Kitty pulls out the flamethrower and just starts roasting everybody, like
in her pool.
in the pool. Yes, like oh man,
Yeah.
I cannot wait. But right from the get-go too, we're talking about tone. I think something that struck me too on this is the outfit she's wearing in interrogation. Like, it's the striped pajamas that we often associate with the concentration camps. And that was, how important was that for you? Like, what went into like creating this opening scene? Where how did you choose where to start?
Well, actually, Abel helped me out with there's 2 pages where she's in an office, and Schellenberg is kind of going over exactly why she's there. So he kind of helped me out with that part and put that in front. But I wanted to start with Kitty, because she's the proprietor of the establishment, but also she's the catalyst. This whole story wouldn't exist without her. So putting her point of view and how she got involved with the Nazis in the first place when she was trying to escape, that was the main thing that I wanted to focus on to open up the story. And I feel like it was a great intro to it, her story. And each book starts out at the Kitty's Bordello, but so much other stuff is happening all over the regime that that's the starting point, and that's where it stems from. But so much more to the story itself.
Yeah, I
Right.
mean, you started like there, and then you flash to the bordello where she's talking to another woman. She's giving her, money to run off to Britain. Again, it's one of those, like, I thought like the tassels were a funny touch to me, because I just
Yeah.
like that. So that was funny. Like,
They're
there's an
historically
inside.
accurate.
They are, but there's like an inside joke with me and my wife about these. Nothing inappropriate, but we just always like laugh about it. So like, to me, it's like, hey, look at this, and we had a good laugh. So it's one of those, like, to us, it's maybe not, it's supposed to be a heavy moment, but also, like you said, you're not going to walk out depressed. It was like a heartfelt moment between two people that care for each other. Then we got Beppe, who is the driver, and he's trying to get her out. And then obviously we see him get captured and things like that. So I'm really interested in like how each character, you set up different characters, and I'm excited to kind of play. Are we going to continue seeing a lot of these same characters that we saw in issue 1 going forward through issue 5?
Oh yeah, definitely. These are the major players. These are all the major players that the whole story is built around. But there's more characters and more excitement to the story. And book 2 introduces pretty much the majority of everybody else. There's 2 outliers, but they're just more for broadening what happened at the hotel, things like that. More Nazi bad guys that you just need to know like the full entity of what happened to them
Yeah.
in the aftermath. And yeah, there's literally only one scene that did the twist on, and it's the way everything coalesced and gelled together naturally. Man, I'm just so proud and excited of it, and I can't wait for everybody to read all of it. But promoting book 1, that's it, and it's a good one to kind of dip your toe in and experience this world.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting too to see these stories that did actually happen, because, I feel like we just get a broad overview of what happened during World War II. You're not taught these individual stories and what these different people were going through and how terrified everybody
Yeah.
was. So it's, it does make you, anytime you're watching something that's sad and it's based on fact, obviously, yeah, you're going to feel some emotion unless you're a psychopath. But you did it in a great way where it was entertaining. And I think it's good to learn these stories and learn history. Otherwise, of course, we're doomed to repeat it. So it's fun to learn something and be entertained at the same time.
Thank you,
So
thank you. Yeah, the whole point of it is not to preach or anything like that, or have a history lesson. You don't need to know much to be able to enjoy the story. Like the way I tell it,
Nazis
I
are
tell you
bad.
everything. Yeah, I tell you everything you need to know, and it is entertaining as a story in itself. And it doesn't just knowing like what World War II was about. That's basically all you need to know to be able to enjoy it.
Well,
World
I
War
think
II was bad. Nazis were bad. That's it.
right.
That's
I
it. That's
think
all you need to know.
a huge part of this, I mean, for me, is like a lot of people often associate with comic books. They think the big two, and then there's like, oh, it's just superheroes. It's all childish. It's like, well, no, you can actually learn something from comic books. And it's stories like these that I really love talking about because it shows just the broadening of comic books. And then also when you're learning about a story that a lot of people don't know about, like you said, there's very limited media on this. It gives us a chance to also visualize the story. We get to visually see how it would have played out. Yeah, there's a lot of left to imagination, but like telling the story both visually and through narration, I think that adds like that extra special element. And then it just kind of shows that like, man, there's literally comic books isn't just childish, goofy games. It's something that can be as serious as, hey, World War II. Yes, we know Nazis are bad. And boom, here we are. Here's a really good story about some things that went on with some very real people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so I do want to put that out there, the dangers of fascism, and I mean, obviously that's coming back right now. Not to get too political, but
I mean, it is a big problem in the
something.
world. I mean, look at how many countries whose elections just happened, and look at how they all vote. It's scary. It's kind of like these unknown history repeats itself, right? And you're kind of looking, and you're like, "Hey, are we crazy?" And it's important to see stories like this to kind of like reel some people back in. Like, hey guys, this
This didn't
hello.
work last time.
Yeah, even in Germany, like the conservative is rising up again. They've been using Nazi sloganeering and stuff like that, like
Mm.
again now, like today. So it's yeah, something that I just want people to know how dangerous it really is, and we do need to fight back. And learning about it, step one.
Exactly. Education, the number one way to fight just about anything. I mean, ideologies are obviously harder to fight, but through education and what you're doing out here too, man. Like I love it. I was sucked in from the start, like I said, and I cannot wait. So issue number 2 is set to come out June 28th. Do you have all the issues already kind of written and planned out? Like, how is this going to release?
Yeah. So actually, because of printing and everything like that, issue number 2 is actually being released in early 2025.
Okay.
Yep, digitally and printed. But July 2nd, Lesser Known Comics, they're doing pre-sales on book 1, and that's where it's going to be when it's going to be available. And that'll be on their web store, lesserknowncomics.com. And yeah, we're trying to promote the living hell out of it so people get on board and take it in and hopefully enjoy it. That's the whole point of all of this. It's not just all the seriousness and everything. It's for entertainment. It's so you enjoy stuff and buckle up. Like I'm enjoying this beer. This beer is
I was
actually
gonna
pretty
say, like,
damn.
the whole vibe over there right now, I'm like, that's the
Well,
energy I like live in mentally all the time. So it's really cool. Just like you're just kicked up in a nice remote island next to a tree, drinking a beer, like getting to
I
write
was
and
gonna
talk
say,
about
now you know he's on
comics.
an
Like,
island in Hawaii.
yeah. So it's just like, dude, you're kind of like living a dream, so to speak. And do you
Yeah.
have, aside from this story, do you have any other ideas you're looking to explore throughout different comic books?
Yeah. So I'm working on another one right now. I'm still writing it. I like to have at least a full script of all the books. So the way I do my books, I like telling movies basically. I don't like never-ending long form stories like Spider-Man's been around since the 60s. I don't want to like stick with one title. I kind of want to
Mhm.
branch out and have like I want to be like a film director. And even though I don't feel like I direct it, I do the writing and Abel does the directing. I want different books with a limited series, and I want different titles out there. So the next one I'm working on is called A Change Gonna Come, and it's basically about abortion rights being taken away and empowerment of femininity. I absolutely love powerful female characters, and
Same.
that's the route I'm rolling with. Definitely for this next one, but it's not really going to be as noir as my 2 previous books. This one's going to kind of branch out, and that's going to be the difference between what I put out so far.
Nice.
It's
So you get to touch
massive. Yeah, I mean, it's massively important to be able to talk about these things. I know it's like, oh, keep this space here, but no, I mean, if you got to speak up sometime, and I think what you're doing through comics, like that's your like. There's methods for everybody. Some people choose to like physically protest. Some people choose to write, a Twitter post or whatever. But I think what you're doing through comic books, that's just equally as massively important, because in my own personal head, it's like, if I can change one person's mind, who's to say they don't turn around and talk to one of their friends, and then that's two people potentially, and onward and so forth. And I think that's what, through comic books, like, art is the biggest form of media, that we consume, and that's how we interpret things, and this is how the thing happens.
I agree fully. I forgot. I think it was Trotsky. I'm think please don't, and I'm paraphrasing at the same time, so don't hold me to it. But one of my favorite quotes is, art is a way to not shape society, but use a hammer to mold it how you want it. So that's basically my intention. I'm just trying to put something out there that warns against the things that I don't believe in and I think are morally wrong, but I try to do it in an entertaining way. And this one is this next one I'm working on is way more nonstop action. Not as many dominoes I need to set up before I knock them all over. It's gonna be firing right from the get go, which will be another difference. So it's
Nice.
fun just to work with different storytelling techniques and see what works and what doesn't.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like, I know you said you don't consider yourself to be like the film director, but I mean, in a way, you're very, both of you are. I mean, you and the artist both are telling a story. You're crafting the story together. So I would say, equally, in a way, you're both directing the story. You through actually telling it, and kind of like, this is, how I want things to go, and then producing it, and then through the art. So I mean, of course, I mean, just because you're not out there physically doing camera work, this is just about the same playing field.
Uh, um, Cinematographer maybe, but
Yeah.
he's in the big seat. He's in the big seat. He's
Yeah.
and he's free to do creative liberties. If he sees something a better way, he'll do a quick sketch, run it by me, and I'll be like, dude, that works perfectly. So you're right. It is very based. It is like, you can't depend on just yourself, especially when you're a writer. Um, even if you write prose, like, you need to bounce your ideas off somebody else and get feedback. So
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. It's good to get somebody else in that driver's seat for a little bit, though. Like,
Absolutely.
get you one, like write down the ideas that you want to get down and give it to somebody, and see it visually come back what you're looking for. Is whew, there's no better feeling in the world than that. So yeah, it's being able to do this, being where I am right now. I can't express gratitude enough, to be honest with you.
Oh
That's
man.
awesome.
Now, as we kind of start to wrap up, Lauren, do you have any final thoughts here about the comic we talked about, or any other questions for Kevin?
No, I think we hit them all. We talked future projects and everything. So yeah, and of course, Matt will put all the info you need in there. So if you want
Oh
to tell
yeah,
us where
everything's.
people can follow you, though, for any future projects and where they can find your work, and we will also put that in the show notes. And by we, I mean Matt.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm on Instagram, Pizza Party Attestation. Um, that's the name, Pizza Party Attestation. Wherever I have an account, Instagram the only one that's really active. I have Reddit, I have YouTube, but those aren't really as prevalent. And lesserknowncomics.com. They're gonna have the pre-sale on July 2nd.
Oh yes, we will absolutely be pushing that out. You can pre-order it here. The show notes and the links will be like everything through our social medias. By all means, like, guys, I promise you, this comic book is excellent. What Kevin did, like, sucked me in from the start, man. I cannot thank you
I
enough
mean,
for
it's a
sharing with
brothel
us.
and Nazi secrets and sneaking Jews out of Germany, and it's based on real stuff. Like,
Yeah.
Oh
that
yeah,
is crazy. So, yeah, we
yeah,
loved it. We think anybody else who picks it up will.
I
And we
a
didn't even
thousand
get to read
percent
the
agree.
twist at the end, so because it hasn't even come out yet.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. Still, he's working on book 4 now. Um, we're gonna put them out about every 6 months. It takes about 9 months to make. It's like a pregnancy. You gotta
It's
birth
your baby. I
it.
mean, it is your baby. Yeah.
Eh,
Yeah, exactly, man. You gotta gestate it right. You know what I mean? So yeah, he's working on book 4 now, and then book 5. Yeah, I can't wait for him to get started on it just so I can see it personally. But we'll be releasing them through Lesser Known Comics about every 6 months. So yeah, starting on July 2nd. Yeah.
Cannot wait. And as this story continues, by all means, you have an absolute home here to chat with us. We are fully invested in the story, and I hope everybody out there who checked this out is the same, man. Like, by all means, I hope people let us know like what everybody's thoughts are. I hope people are pre-ordering this. Can't thank you enough. I really appreciate your time coming on talk with us. It's always great to get to read some really exciting stuff, man.
I appreciate y'all for having me. And yeah, dude, I'll be so happy to come back and talk to you about the other books, man. Thank you again. It's been an honor, and I appreciate y'all a lot. And I like what y'all are doing. And I'm gonna save this one for my drive home. I'm gonna get home safely first, and then crack. But you know, this one will be finished by the time I leave the field here.
Enjoy the vibes. It's a killer vibe out there, man. I'm jealous. That's the life. You're living the dream. Everybody out there, but you know where to go. Show notes, follow it, check this stuff out. We can't wait to read more. Oh, look at the little puppies. Yeah, we got puppies. Yes.
Oh, come on. Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. She's been out here the whole time, trying to be quiet.
Man, amazing. Wow, she's been on. Jeez. Amazing. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. We will catch you guys next week. Cheers.
Appreciate y'all again.